First of all, welcome to all the new members who've joined our amazing group. Super happy to have you here. This is really a safe space for you to ask your questions, to feel like part of a community, to just really get evidence-based information. There is so much misinformation out there online, and it becomes really, really hard to know what to believe and what not to believe. So if you don't know who I am, a quick introduction of myself. My name is Yusra Ishaq. I'm a health and fitness behavior change coach. I'm an evidence-based coach, which essentially means everything I talk about is based on the evidence and the science as we currently know it. It is not from my anecdotal experiences. I try my best not to be biased and stuff like that. We all have our biases, right? That's human nature, but I do my best to present the evidence as we know it, and then people can make their own informed choices and decisions, right? So I work with women from all over the globe, helping them with their health and fitness goals. So, whether that's weight loss, whether that's just maintaining their health and fitness, whether that's getting stronger, whether they're pregnant or postpartum, whether they're dealing with things like incontinence and all these other challenges that a lot of us face, including menopause, right? Now, I wanted to come on here and really talk about a theme that I've been seeing a lot. I've been blessed to be chatting to a lot of women every single day, right? And the struggles. And we know that the women's health has been in the back burner for such a long time, right? There isn't a lot of support out there and things like this. And again, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to create this group so you can feel supported in the best possible way. Now, one of the things that I see a lot is people getting diagnosed with, metabolic challenges like PCOS, or polycystic ovary syndrome, or diabetes, and being told, if you've got this condition, then you have to be on this diet or on that diet, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you should do this and you should do that. But when we look at the evidence and the research, none of that is actually true, all right? As far as we know, at present, there isn't one best diet for people who have PCOS. There isn't one best diet for people who have diabetes, right? In fact, if I had two clients and, one of them had these metabolic health challenges and the other one didn't, my nutritional advice would probably be the same, because it doesn't really change. It really comes down to, okay, what can you stick with? People forget adherence, right? You find people being given restrictive diets, or you have to cut out carbohydrates, you can't have cakes, you can't have cookies and things like this, right? Which is very restrictive. And this is why you tend to people, even if their health is at risk, they can't stick to this diet because it is unrealistic, right? Their physiology is going to fail them, and it's not their physiology, then the psychology is going to fail them, and they end up going back to their old eating ways because they end up finding it too challenging, right? It doesn't have to be that way. You can still manage your diabetes, you can still manage your PCOS while continuing to have moderate amount of carbohydrates, right? Carbohydrates are not your enemy. A lot of people confuse between restriction and restraint. These are totally two different things. Restriction is, oh my God, I cannot have this at all, which sucks because carbohydrates are life, right? Or I'm okay to have this, I just have to be mindful of the portion size. Now, my next point of following that is really not one food item that's an issue, it's your general lifestyle that you want to look at. So step back and look at, okay, what is my life like? Am I managing my stress well? Am I sleeping well? Am I eating my vegetables, right? Am I moving? Am I exercising? Am I eating a good amount of protein? Because honestly, if you're taking all these health promoting behaviors that are supporting your health, carbohydrates are not going to be the thing that's going to make your health worse, right? Good choices of carbohydrates a moderate intake of carbohydrates when you're doing all these other things, they're actually going to leave you healthier with more energy and also allow you to stick to that eating strategy that is actually going to help you manage these conditions. Right? So my advice is stop trying to get into diets that you can't sustain, that you can't adhere to long time. They will not help you. Focus your time on stepping back and looking what areas of my life can I improve long term. Right? We know if you're on the higher end of the scale, all right, we know that losing weight is the first thing that's going to help you manage these metabolic conditions and challenges, right? So, okay, how can I eat? How can I live in a way that's going to promote weight loss, but also not leave me feeling drained and exhausted and pissed off because I can't have a cookie, right? Or I can't eat with my family, or I can't chill with my husband at night and have tea and a slice of cake, right? Because all these things matters, right? Our biology matters, right? Our psychology matters, our society matters, how we live matters, and it defines whether we can stick to a specific dieting strategy or not. So don't do something that you feel like is impacting other areas of your life, is impacting your relationships, is impacting your friendships, is stopping you from going out and having fun, because that's not way to live. That's going to impact the quality of your life. So having said that, these are the two things that I want you to practice this week. If you're someone who's suffering from, PCOS or diabetes, or honestly, if you're just someone who's trying to lose some weight for health reasons, or you just you feel like you're not feeling great in your skin and you want to shed some weight, here are just the two things I want you to try this week. Number one, I want you to look at your base step count. How many steps are you doing in a day? All right. Ideally, having a smartwatch is a great idea, and you don't need to get anything expensive. All right. You don't need to get anything expensive. And just a reminder, smartwatches are not giving you accurate calorie amounts. Those are just highly estimates and they're not real. However, the thing that smartwatches are great for is measuring your movement and your step counting. So look at what your base is. What are you doing right now? Is it 3,000? Is it 4,000? Right? See where it's at, right? Once you figure that out, see if you can add, say, 2,000 to 3,000 steps on top of that. Now, if you're like me, who's homeschooling, who's running a home business, I really don't get the chance to go out for a walk every day. So what I do, I make sure I get my steps in at home. Even if it's a matter of standing like a moron in front of the TV, jogging on the spot, I do that to get my steps in. We do what we can given our current circumstances, right? So number one is see if you can take your step count up, okay? Number two, a lot of people think healthy eating is about removing foods, right? Removing the foods that you love, removing all those things. Well, actually, it's a lot easier to add in foods, right? Add in foods that are nutrient dense but lower in calories, and then use those foods to be the base of your meals so it fills you up. That way, even when you have the other foods, you're able to control the portion size. For example, another thing that I want you to try on next week is choose one of your meals, the meals that you feel like you have a better choice in creating. So say, example, for me, it would be like my dinner. My dinner is the biggest meal of the day, right? I like my dinner to be packed with veggies and proteins. Why? Because I consume most of my carbohydrates during the day, and that is what works for me. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to work for you. So what I want you to figure out is choose one of your meals where you're going to make that meal be mostly protein and vegetable based. So it's almost like half your plate is vegetables, right? Quarter of your plate is protein. And even if you're going to have carbohydrates, let those carbohydrates be towards the sort of, what can I say? Legumes based, let's say, your chickpeas, your beans and stuff like that, or you could create like a bean salad style and have it with a grilled chicken. The reason I'm telling you this is to get you in the habit of creating a more nutrient dense plate that is not loaded with calories, right? It's just practice. So number one, look at your current step count and see what your baseline is right now, and then add 2,000 to 3,000 steps on top of that if you can. Number two, choose any of your meals in the day and make that meal more veggie and protein based. Again, this is not because carbohydrates are bad for you. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying this because we naturally have a tendency to consume more carbohydrates than the other macronutrients anyway. Right? Naturally, easily. Like we easily hit our carbohydrate targets than we do our protein targets or our fiber target. So when we focus on adding more of those things into our meals, we tend to reduce the other things. So on one meal, choose whatever meal that you're comfortable with, make that meal protein and veggie based. Just make sure your vegetables are cooked in a healthy way and ideally not fried and all that stuff. Okay? Practices for this week, just 2 things. Don't try to go restrictive. Don't try to cut out carbohydrates. Don't try to do anything. Don't change any other thing, right? Don't think, oh, I'm not going to have carbohydrates at dinner, so I'm going to have more carbohydrates for lunch. Don't do that, right? Keep everything else consistent as it is now. All I need you to try and play with is adding the number of steps that you're doing in a day, and then replace one of your meals to be more protein and more vegetable based, and see how that plays out. And then eventually you start to be adding more habits and stuff like that. Another issue that I see is when people try to be healthier, they just go 360 degrees on trying to change anything. It does not work. Our brain doesn't work in big leaps. Our brain works in small steps. So when you're taking small steps towards your health and fitness journey, it becomes easier to sustain. It becomes easier to stick with. It doesn't stress you out as much. You then stop, because the moment you tell someone, oh, I'm on a diet, what happens is you're going to want to eat everything that you know you shouldn't be eating. You want the pizza, you want the cake, and it's normal. We all do that, right? So you're not on a diet. You're not. You're just making better food choices to promote your health goals. That's all that you're doing. And it really does come to balance and moderation and restraint as opposed to restriction. Okay, so try these 2 things. Look at your step count, add 2,000 to 3,000 steps in there. Number 2, replace one of your meals to be more protein and veggie based, and see how that plays out. Let me know. Do put down in the comments how you found this video, if it's helpful, and keep us updated in the group. If you tried, create a post, tell us how it's going. Let us support you, because honestly, when you know how to eat for health, when you understand the basics of nutrition, all this becomes so easy. Right? You stop having the diet mentality of, oh, I need to eat a certain way. I can't have this, I can't have that. Because the moment you tell your brain you can't have something and you shouldn't have something, that's when you're going to want it the most. And you already know this. I've heard from a lot of you, it does not work. So don't do it. It's not going to serve you. All right? Assalamu alaikum. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.